We don't take on more than we can chew, but we're definitely going to own it.
We try to find solutions that make the glazing trade's life easier.
I made mistakes on, but then I owned it.
Taking accountability on a mistake with a client is probably seen by most people as being weak.
If your employee makes the mistake, you made the mistake.
Because everybody's going to make mistakes, so the builder or the customer needs to know.
We've all made mistakes.
We're not perfect, but doing that kind of thing goes a real long way.
We quote the glazer. We exist for the glazing trade.
Welcome to the next episode of Glass.GPT. We're here with Ian with Phoenix Architectural Glass and Metal, and we're just going to kick the episode off with the usual first question. Ian, can you tell us your story twofold? A, how did you get into the glazing business to begin with? And B, where are you at, or how did you get started with Phoenix Architectural Glass?
Sure. My history in the glass industry goes back to 1997. I started as a sales manager in a decorative glass maker that's no longer in business. There's a company called Cesar Color, and they were sort of an innovator in what I would consider is one of the groups in the decorative glass industry, sort of a pioneer that has a great influence on a lot of great companies that we see making decorative glass products these days. And I was there for some time, and like many of us, we think that we want to exit this industry. There was about a year of being there. There was about a year in my life where I said, maybe this isn't for me. I'm going to try something else. And within 6 months, I was right back in the glass glass industry. It kind of grabs you. It's in your blood, and you know it when you know it. And so it was a little less than a year that I was out of this and decided that I would buy into a customer's business. It was a glass and mirror shop and a small glazing outfit in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the agreement was I was going to help them out. Scottsdale and Phoenix in itself, right around 2000, was really growing in a unique way. And there were a lot of great opportunities. And so I came back and helped make that company very successful and very profitable. And we focused on really innovative installations, innovative materials that really were just becoming, there was awareness growing of this material, just starting that awareness in the early 2000s. And so about 2003, I had achieved my goal to help this company turn around. And I got involved with a business partner, and we formed a company called Paragon. We operated that until about 2020, and it became one of the best structural glass companies in North America. We were engaged in design, engineering, supply of structural glass systems and furnished that to the glazing trade throughout North America and the Caribbean. And it contributed to this sort of overall 360 approach that I think is important to have, and that I feel like Phoenix has. And about 2020, during the pandemic, in a sort of organic way, things started changing organizationally. And amidst the chaos of the pandemic, I was in the fortunate and luxurious position to look at what I wanted to do. And I conceived Phoenix at that time. It was sort of a love of glass, a love of architecture, love of design, and several decades of experience in this industry that Phoenix was born. And Phoenix provides boutique architectural glass processing solutions and design and engineering of unique glazing solutions. And the idea was that we're not going to chase every massive structural glass wall. I wanted to leverage my experience and connections in the glazing industry to sort of fill this niche space. Because what I started to realize is that there's a ton of really, really awesome people, awesome glazing contractors in our industry that can build almost anything, that can get the job done. But at many times they're saying, well, hey, I can install this, I can erect this, I can handle this, but somebody needs to design this. And where do we put the holes? How thick does the glass need to be? Who can fabricate the necessary clamps and clips and hardware? I can't buy this out of a catalog. So we said to ourselves, okay, we're in this I said to myself, I'm in this luxurious position where we don't have to do the most massive project and chase every structural glass job. let's focus on something that I think is missing in this industry or that's disappearing. I said to myself, okay, this seems to be a revolving door of human resources in a lot of this industry. And there seems to be a lack of consistency, a lack of boutique service, a lack of transparency and white glove handling of these projects. Let's fill this niche where let's focus on the project, not just the size of the project, but let's be pinpoint focused on providing white glove service, communication, partnership, and let's provide solutions. So Phoenix is a company that I started in 2020, and it sort of grew out of the desire and need to re-engage and look past these need to have these massive multi-million dollar projects and find solutions within that for projects of any size. It can be a $20,000 solution or a $2 million project. That's been our ballpark, oddly as that sounds. But we're focused on communication, transparency, boutique white glove service, partnership, and we back that up. We have a really strict QC procedure. We have really strict documenting procedures, QC procedures, and the focus is on being consistent, communicating well, and partnership. So that's how Phoenix came to be, and we really try to say, hey, we want to know your project. We want to understand the site conditions, the architecture, what equipment you have, what skill sets you have. How can we be a partner and not just ship you a box of pieces and parts? And I think that's sort of been diminished in the past 20 years, or diminishing. So for us, it's really important that we're really project centric, whether it's 2 lights of glass or 2,000 lights of glass or 22,000 lights of glass. We try to find solutions that make the glazing trade's life easier, and we try to focus on partnership. That's sort of how we got here and what we do, I guess you'd say.
I love your story. Um, there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. So I guess my first question would be is you not only sell to contractors, developers, architects, but it sounds like you also sell to the glazing industry. And for anybody who's watching this, is it fair to say that there might be shower door companies across the country that are just so focused on showers, but the builder's like, listen, if I'm going to give you the shower door package, you need to do this custom awning or this custom skylight in the atrium. And they're like, well, I don't know where to get that. Could they actually reach out to you for the engineering, product procurement, and you can just basically deliver to the job site and they'll install it?
Absolutely. That's part of the solution. So I would say that 98% of our sales are to the glazing trade. And we have a rule on first hire day. We tell a new hire, we quote the glazer. We don't quote the glazer's customer. We quote the glazer. We exist for the glazing trade. And where does the other 2%? We have a couple of millwork shops that have been purchasing glass for years. They're decorative glass or things like that. Or in the odd occasion, we have a few projects in the Caribbean, and the procurement process is a little different in the Caribbean. So hence the 2%. I say it's probably closer to one, but the idea is to keep the glazers in the field earning money installing. So in our office, we have a team of draftsmen and engineers, and not every job has this really, really complicated engineering or unique hardware that we have to custom fabricate. Some projects are, for example, exactly what you're saying, Keith. Glazer contacted us and said, hey, here are the openings. Here's what the architect's thinking of doing. I want you to do the drafting, our shop drawings, our calculations, and I want you to come up with a few options of how you think these showers need to operate. So you look at it and you're like, hey, this is going to bang into the wall if it goes this way. You can't hinge a 30 something inch wide door off a 3-inch side light that's only connected at the head and sill. It's going to deflect too much. So things of that nature, we leverage this experience, not just from doing math on paper, but from being on the installation side, from showering for 50 years and things of that nature, and seeing these installations. So we provide this sort of 360 solution. And again, the glazing trade is earning money installing products. So for the mid-size glazer, they can't have a office full of draftsmen and engineers and designers sitting there. It's not a good utilization of their resources. So that's the idea, to keep the glazer in the field doing his business, installing materials.
Smart.
Excellent. So, well, can you go ahead and educate not just myself, but everybody else who might be watching this for the first time? Exactly what kind of products do you sell to us glazers that would be applicable to not only commercial but residential projects, like the kinds of things that you can't buy from a catalog? I like what you said there. I saw like some of the cool stuff on your website, but if you want to just go ahead and tell us your best sellers and what kind of stuff makes most sense to contact your firm to help with.
It's a wide range of products. So bulk fabricated glass that you need it to be done right and done right the first time. We have a really rigid QC process and a very strict packaging and transportation process and documentation. So I would say high-end architectural glass, also bulk fabricated architectural glass, jumbo glass, custom printed glass where graphics are involved, where there's a design concept that an architect has, and we can help him or her determine, is it best digitally printed, is it best printed on interlayer, and we can work with the graphic artist and have our own graphic artist do some of the coordination and produce working drawings and shop drawings for them. So those are some of the glass products, and then also some building facade products, because we design and engineer a lot of really unique systems. Typically, they're walls, canopies, floors, and railings, and those are the typical things. But then there are a lot of architectural features. So somebody has a sculptural idea, and right now we're working on a residence in Aspen, Colorado, where there's a very special sort of steel shape, and we're cladding it in a variety of different pieces of glass. We're designing eh, basically the entire product, including the subterranean anchorage. So the architect's coming to us saying, "This is what I want to do," and we're saying, "Okay, give us a couple of days. We're going to come back with a working document, a drawing that we can then engage in a conversation and sort of trim the fat and get to the point of what they're trying to achieve." So at any given day, there's a lot of varying um, possibilities. For example, one day we're looking at 30,000 square feet of guardrail glass, and one might say, "Well, you're a more of a specialty house. Why are you doing that?" What we'll do in that case is that we're supplying a couple of high rises now, all of the balcony glass. Each glass gets created per the balcony and then gets hoisted there. But besides that, each light of glass is loaded into the crate in a sequence, and then each crate is loaded into the transport in a sequence. So we're not only just engineering glass structures, we're engineering logistics, and we're also shipping onesie twosie jumbos. And with those, we're really trying to understand, because of the safety first, and the time it takes to handle this, but mostly the safety. We're trying to understand, where are we delivering this? Your office or a job site? What kind of equipment do you have? What's going on at the job site? How far from where you're receiving the goods to where you put it in the hole is it? Because number one, we all have to get home at the end of the day. This isn't the safest industry. Workman's comp is really expensive, and we want to make sure these solutions are safe. So we're not just making a piece of glass and stuffing it in a hole or stuffing it in a container or a crate. We have to make sure it gets there safely, that your guys are safe, and that your customer's happy with everything. But there's a wide range of materials and products. We're working on a dealership for an automobile company, and they can't find the handrail that, or not the handrail, the door pull that they desire. And I said, "Well, just draw it. We can look at it, and we can design it, and we can fabricate it." So we're making custom offset door pulls in a certain color, in a special steel PVD finish. And there are not a lot of them. There's maybe 30 door pulls or so. Sometimes there's 6 door pulls. So it's a wide range of products, and a unique space that we're fitting in this sort of solutions venue, I guess you'd say.
I want to, for anybody that's watching this, validate Ian when he says that they pay attention to the quality and the nuances in the loading, because Ian went out of his way while in Miami, traveled 2.5 hours over to our factory and took a tour and was pointing out stuff that most people that come through our factory would never point out. And it was obvious to me what he was looking for. And then getting to know him a little bit more, he's been to factories in Turkey and China and Mexico. And only someone that actually truly gives a shit at the highest level about the offerings that they're doing will take the time to do all of that. And I also think, just a side note on doing all that traveling, people that end up traveling a lot more tend to be people that communicate at a high level. I don't know if it's because they have to assimilate in all these different areas, but when I talk with Ian, whether it's through Zoom or over the phone, I always feel better and smarter when I get off the phone than when I started. And I mean that. I mean that. So, Ian, how, and we'll probably touch on this again, but how would any of the glaziers that follow Brandon and I or follow this podcast, how do they even start that relationship with your firm? Is it something as easy as just an email or a DM through Instagram, or how do they go about getting a hold of you?
The same way you would contact anybody else: email, telephone, Instagram, Facebook. They're all available. Even a blind email: hey, saw you guys out there, we're working on this job, hoping you can put your 2 cents in. And there's a lot of these that come across our desk every day, and it takes a little discipline, especially as you know, Keith, you guys are making it rain on social media, and there's a lot of sifting through a lot of things. But we want to give back a little, and we want to be courteous, and we want to express our gratitude. So even the projects that are not appropriate for us, we'll be the first guys to say that this one's not appropriate. You should call so and so, because we want to find the right fit, and we want to act like a partner and be an extension of our customer's business, and we want them to feel at home, and we want to offer this 29 years of experience and leverage that to the benefit of the industry. Because the problem that we see is that the knowledge base is disappearing because people aren't getting into glazing. They want to do other things. So what happens when this disappears? What happens to the quality of these buildings and the construction? So we want to distinguish ourselves as being a partner, an expert that communicates well, that's transparent, that takes the wins as well as the challenges as a team player. And I think that that's really, really what's missing. So we welcome any inquiries that come in, and we always give our time, even if it's something that's not the best fit for us, and very transparent about why it's not. Or on the opposite side, we'll say, hey, this is our wheelhouse. You came to the right place, and let us tell you why. And we normally do that referencing some projects, showing past completed jobs, drawings, and usually get back to people very, very quickly with, hey, this is how we'd approach it, and try to be servicing people in that capacity.
Brandon, I can validate everything he said because I've gone through this process, and the way he communicates is extremely collaborative and it's honest, which is fucking refreshing. And so, massive amount of respect to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I already feel like my IQ rose 5 points just sitting here talking to you. So
Yes.
yeah, it's happening right
Yes.
now in real time. So we're gonna go ahead and add a email address in the show notes on this episode if you want to reach out and see if your project is a good fit. But that leads me to my next question. What makes your ideal client, whether it's a glazer or a type of builder or a type of glazing firm? Like who benefits the most from your services? Like what kind of glass company or estimator?
I think there are two schools of estimators, and I don't discredit one or the other, or like one better than the other. It's just the reality of how I see it. Um, One estimator is bidding a ton of work, and he needs to do it quickly and quickly and quickly. And it seems like you're getting spammed by this person because there's a lot of quote requests and very little follow up, if any, closing deals. And we try to do our best. At a certain point, you're kind of done with it. But then there's the other estimator is a guy or gal who sends you a message and a packet of information and says, "Hey, Ian, um, please take a look at this page and note this. And I'd like to do this, but I'm concerned about that. And check this page and check this detail. And I've sketched this." Somebody that gives you a lot of information so that you actually have some meat to chew on and can engage in a functional and effective conversation, as opposed to just saying, "Hey, you sent me a sketch. There's no specs. I don't know what you wish to do." And it gets frustrating a little, but that's part of this business. So you just grin and bear it. But the ideal customer or the ideal estimator or the ideal architect is somebody that has a little direction. Because I said earlier today to somebody, I really appreciate what you sent because we have 10 to 20 inquiries daily that we're sifting through, and maybe not every day 10 to 20, but there's quite a lot of activity that we're sifting through, and the ones that are the most comprehensive get the best attention and they get the best reaction. Because if you're sending us something very minimal, all we can say is, "Here's a list of questions, please advise," as opposed to, "Hey Keith, thanks for that descriptive bit of information. Our approach is going to be this, this, and this. Do you think this will work? Can we make a sketch of this? Do you wish to get the architect or ownership involved so we can all sit and talk about it? Here are some examples of what we've done." And, just to mention one other thing, delegated design. Have you heard those words? you know, a lot, a lot of what comes across our desks is delegated design. And really what it means is you figure it out, tell me how to do
Just
it.
you do it.
And if I like your
Oh.
design, then it's great. But if I don't like your design, I'm going to criticize the heck out of it, and I'm going to tell you it's wrong. And I always say, well, how could it be wrong if it's delegated and we're trying to interpret what you have? Can we please engage
Exactly.
on this? Because we can't guess them. There's 500 projects on the street at any given second. How do you guess? So the best client is someone that has a little information. I can understand that you can't know everything. That's why you're calling us. If you knew everything, you wouldn't be looking for a solution or a partner or helper. But the best client is somebody that is semi-informed and is open-minded to hearing how your approach to this may be.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm actually seeing more and more that even on a simple shower enclosure side where architects sending plans, there's literally no specs, just a little couple rectangular drawings. I'm thinking these architects are at the top of the food chain as far as people extorting money out of these projects, but it seems like they're doing less and less detailed. And so they put it on us, who's at the bottom of the barrel, who stands to gain the least amount of the job. And we're left with the order of trying to design. It's a delegated design. We need to do a hashtag delegated design. Um, when someone, let's say, for instance, we're talking to Cody Artman, here's a young up and comer doing commercial, residential, and he might be one of these guys that lands a commercial builder doing a storefront, but might have a big awning or waterfall feature, something that's unique. And he doesn't want to pass up the builder because he doesn't want to let the next glass guy in. So he might reach out to me. Can you expect shop drawings, calculations? Like maybe it's a product that needs a product approval and you guys can do that from soup to nuts?
Yeah, we can do that. We can start at basic sketches off of a bar napkin all the way through delivery. Um, for the NOA product approval, we'd probably work with a local person in Florida, but we have in-house engineering, in-house drafting, and we're using Revit, we're using AutoCAD, we're using Mepla. So there's a lot of software that we have. Each year we pay the licenses for them, and yeah, we want to use that software. So yeah, we can provide a turnkey solution, and I think that's what people are looking for, answers. Like I said, you're earning your money installing product. We need to keep you out in the field installing product accurately and safely. So that's sort of our premise about it.
All right.
Um,
I had a question. So I know in recent years the rise of digital templating is getting more and more popular with time. So I guess my question is how do you handle site dimensions when you're providing products for somewhere that you're never going to visit physically? Do you hire out like a digital templater, or do you send somebody out, or do you just rely on the measurements of whoever is hiring you?
It depends on the project. Right now we're working on about 7,500 square foot canopy that has a few different heights and a few different geometries. And for that one, the glazing contractor has a surveyor who's going to shoot the entire thing. They use Total Station. They'll send us the CAD file. Once we have that, then we're going to overlay our shops onto that. And once the architect approves the design, we're going to double check. We're going to ask the glazer to go out there and field verify a couple conditions that we want to double check. But it varies on the project. Sometimes, if it's a very radical situation, we'll say, hey, we wish to come just to make a couple of observations before we get in bed with everybody, just to make sure it's okay that we're not accepting some mess. And on the other case, if it's a very simple opening, we would ask the glazer to give us the X and Y dimensions of the opening, make sure that it's plumb and square and level. But by and large, digital templating is the way to go, especially at some of these larger systems and also with some of these irregular shapes. It's the best option for us because everything can be done electronically and very precisely.
Ian, can you share one of the biggest lessons you've learned um, since starting Phoenix? And maybe it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, maybe it wasn't necessarily a good thing, but an impactful lesson you learned, whether it was not double checking the measurements or not having shop drawings or something that can make you relatable.
Sure. I have to think about that one because we're Phoenix isn't as large personnel or dollar wise as my former company was, and the beauty of that is that we're really focused on each specific project, and so there's a lot of layers of redundancy. And while I'm steering the boat, I'm hands on everything, whether it's QC, consignment paperwork, delivery, engineering, procurement of materials. I mean, every aspect. So I'd have to draw from the past, and I hate to brag about
Okay.
that, but
No.
we've made very little mistakes in 5 years. I mean, there's not one that I'm like, oh my god, all of this was lost years before Phoenix.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah.
And that's not to say we did a bad job then, but there are mistakes that you make along the way that you need to own, and I think that your customers become friends often as a result of those mistakes, depending on how you handle them. And everybody's made
That's
mistakes. I always say, look, if we make a mistake, don't tell the customer you made a mistake. Tell the customer you made a mistake, and here are a few possible resolutions. Don't come to me with a problem without coming with potential solutions. That's what I say to the people here. So let's be solution oriented. Let's own it if we make an error. But I would say just not having enough redundancy as far as eyes on a piece of paper before procurement or something like that, where we said, it gets confusing and now we have to reorder this one thing and the vendor might be confused because, hey, you ordered this once, why are you ordering it again? Or the paperwork gets confused or something like that. But there's been very little mistakes that Phoenix made because we're handling things with white gloves. We're not taking work that we don't feel 100% comfortable with. And I don't think it's a bad thing to say in this industry that people will take work that they're 85% comfortable with or 90% comfortable with and say, we'll figure the rest out. We'll get it done. We know enough of the mechanics of these systems. We can get it done. And we're in this luxurious position. It's a very fortunate place to be where we're saying, hey, if we're not 100% match for your project, we're not going to endeavor on it because we don't want to walk that walk. it's not fair to the customer, and it happens all the time with competitors. And the customers call and say, "Wow, we really appreciate your transparent nature about this. You're so transparent." But it's really important to be that way, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of these mistakes or backpedaling. But there really isn't one, and it's not to say that we're perfect, but we have such a level of checklist because we only want to do a set amount of work with a set amount of customers in a set amount of time. We're really, really careful of how we endeavor. And in the 4 years, in our fifth year, 85% of our work is by repeat customer, and 10% is by referral, which is the best compliment you can receive, is a referral. And then I would say the other 5% is inquiries from sales representatives sending them, or social media, or just people out of the blue reaching our website. So that there hasn't been something in Phoenix's day that's been catastrophic that I say, wow, that was a lesson learned. The lesson learned were earlier, and it was just to be very transparent, double check everything, like you say, cut or measure twice, cut once. That's really what I would say it is, I guess.
Brandon, can I just follow up something real quick? I just want to highlight what he said because I can relate to this. Taking accountability on a mistake with a client is probably seen by most people as being weak, and I would say they're just uneducated. My two best customers at my architectural glass were born out of a fuck up that I made because of lack of redundancy, which has since been fixed. I still doing work. When I say my best customer, they are our best customers because they know they can count on us, even if there's a problem. And yeah, there you go. That's because everybody's going to make mistakes. So the builder or the customer needs to know the fear of the unknown is, how is Ian going to handle this if there's a mistake? Well, there's your answer. That somebody takes a lot of pride in what they do and they take accountability, and that should give you peace of mind.
Yeah, I think also financial responsibility comes into play. For example, don't tender work that if it goes to shit, that you can't get yourself out of. Whether it's one of you,
Yep.
if you make the mistake, or your employee makes the mistake, or if your employee makes the mistake, you made the mistake. First of all, own it.
Of
You're the
course.
employer. But don't tender work that you don't have the bucks to back up, because we've all made mistakes. And I can think of a job several years ago where I'm like, wow, we're doing this job twice. And the customer said, wow, I thought you were going to abandon us and go bankrupt. And I'm like, no, we're here. We took money for you to perform, and we will perform. It's our responsibility. So judge me on my worst day, not my best day, because it's easy to look great when the sun's shining. The beers are flowing, and you just washed your Corvette and you look great in it, or whatever. That's easy to look good that day. Judge me when the shit hits the fan. See how I perform.
That's going to clip good, Brando, right there. That's a
Oh
good
yeah,
short.
and from my end as well. So I have a very similar experience with our customers that I made mistakes on, but then I owned it. Went out there myself, right, to to go finish the install and just make things right, and that goes a long way. Some of my first customers are still exactly there, and I actually had a mistake recently, maybe a year ago. It was a wine room with laminated glass, and I think we ordered all of it an inch too short, and the whole wine room was trash. And then the wine cellar people, they called me. They're like, "Are you guys gonna be okay? Like, how can you afford to do this twice?" I'm like, "Well, we don't take on more than we can chew, but we're definitely going to own it. And we even provide, temporary glass until the proper glass arrives. So it's almost like we do it 3 times, and we're not perfect, but doing that kind of thing goes a real long way. So I kind of want to shift gears, and I have a couple more segments. We got rapid fire questions coming up, but before we get into that, I want to do a deep dive into your experience with social media, how it's going, what gear do you use? Do you have a social media manager? What platforms do you post on? And have you seen any tangible results lately?
Okay. Phoenix is on LinkedIn, um, at Phoenix Architectural, Instagram at Phoenix Architectural, and Facebook. Those are the three primary outlets that we're using. And the engagement has been okay, but it's only because our use of the platforms has only been okay. And so some days or some weeks we've posted 3 times, and some weeks we've gone 2 or 3 weeks without a post. And we're trying to evaluate how to do this because we're a little concerned about opening the floodgates and diminishing what we've established by spreading ourselves too thin. But on the other hand, we know that we need to be a bit more consistent. And there's somebody who works here, Enrique, who kind of is my assistant, and he handles about 95% of the social media and comes up with ideas. And he's forever saying, we need to do this, we need to do that. And the more I watch you guys, I'm thinking, this guy's kind of right. We need to do this, or we need to do that. Or it doesn't, some of the comments that you make, Keith, I'm like, this is awesome. This is just ballsy and outrageous and fun and accurate. And I saw a post today with Charles Barkley, and he said, I bow my head to Michael Jordan. This guy is the GOAT. And this guy didn't go and declare himself the GOAT. He kicked everyone's ass doing it, and it's obvious who the GOAT is. And he was putting down a player now saying, this guy declares himself the GOAT. How are you self-declaring the GOAT when every second you're trying to draw the foul, you're falling on the ground, you're being a crybaby, or whatever? And I thought, Barkley's message is similar to some of the things that you're posting, Keith, where it's just like, hey, this is it, and this is what's up. And you told me once, just post, keep posting, keep posting. So the mindset is kind of shifting, but we're a little concerned about having so much to sift through. So we want to up our game. We're trying to figure out how, but we have received some good opportunities through social media, but it has not been our primary um, source of business. It's been repeat customers 85% of the way.
I think you guys have dealt with enough people, and I know you have in particular, that even if you start posting some of the shorts from this podcast and got 25 phone calls on it, I feel like in the first 3 or 4 minutes if this is like a legit live opportunity or not. And I also believe that you'll know pretty quickly if like, holy shit, this is an absolutely amazing opportunity. And it could turn into something, maybe that you weren't even anticipating yet. Because I believe there's a lot of glaziers out there that are going to see this, that have turned down hundreds of jobs because they just don't know where. It's not that they can't install it. They don't have the means and knowledge that you and Enrique and your staff possess of procurement, logistics, manufacturing, engineering. And this might be a gateway for them to provide more services to their clients, but make a new relationship, with Phoenix Architectural.
That's what we're thinking. That's what we think will happen. And we've watched it in other industries that are utilizing social media and seeing those type of results. So we anticipate that as well. We just want to make sure that our business model is white glove boutique service, absolute transparency, absolute communication, rain or shine. So we just want to make sure we don't dilute that, because the people that are working with us are like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air. We don't want to work with a guy that at 4:59 he's packing up his desk and getting ready to go. And I always say, look, call at any time. If I can't answer, I won't. Even if it's after hours, here's my cell phone number. Even if it's the weekends, you know, whatever. Let's do your work. And many of these people have become good friends as a result. And they say you shouldn't mix your friends with business. Well, I think your childhood friend who you grew up with, you probably shouldn't go in business with this person. Let him go to his industry, you go to your industry. But in the glass industry worldwide, I've made some of my best friends because of these transactions. And when I mean best friends, like I don't hand that out to anyone, just liberally that in that fashion. It's something that I hold really closely. And so some of the best friends I have are as a result of this business, whether I was procuring materials around the world, or whether it was furnishing materials and or design for projects. And you put your heart into something, and people see it, and you give all you have, and people see it. And I want to be around guys and gals that are that way, because I feel that that's what we and that's who I am as well. So you make some wonderful friendships as a result of it. And one of my personal Instagrams says we've traveled the world, we've learned a lot, been involved in some of the greatest projects across North America, and made some great friends worldwide. And for me, that says it all, because at the end of the day, we all need to earn a living, but at the end of the day, also, we have to feel good. It's every bit as important. We have to feel good about what we're doing. If you don't like it, if you don't love it, if you don't feel good about it, why do it? You're going to get sick over it. So it's really, really important to have that passion for me, and to put my name on something. I want the customer or vendor to walk away and be like, yep, exactly as I expected. Stand up guy.
Birds of feather flock together. I'm happy to call you a friend. What's a what what's a big project that you guys are working on right now?
We had a pretty cool one. Behind me up here is our, can't really see it, but it's our job board. I'm just going to pick which one is my favorite one. We have a fun one in Louisville, Kentucky. It's University of Kentucky Medical. And um, it's a high six-figure project, and there's two components to it. The first one is that we're designing column covers in glass. Each column has four sides to it, two that are glass. They're 2-story tall columns, and there's around 8 lights of glass vertically. And where they meet at a 90-degree angle, the graphic spans across the entire 8 on side A and 8 on side B. So each column has 16 lights of glass, and there are, I believe, 5 or 6 columns. So when you step back and you look at all 6 columns, and they're kind of positioned at a diamond shape, you see one image at this direction and another image at this direction.
Oh, it's
So
cool.
that's part one. And then in this atrium on the second floor, the glass starts far at one end, and it kind of zigzags around in plan all the way to the other end. And there's a graphic that, oh, and so these are sort of like conference rooms and classrooms, and each one is sort of like punched out this way and that way, over cantilevering over the atrium space. So in plan, it zigzags around, and the graphic starts all the way at this end, and about 145 lights of glass at the other end, the graphic stops. Some of the walls are vertical, and then some of them are pitched. So there's corners where the graphic meets at a strange setup. Can I stand up and grab something to show you guys?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. What a great
We,
interview.
we make
Uh,
this is really silly, and and this is just something that we made in our office to explain what's going on. And
I love it.
this is just scotch tape and paper, and I'm using this to explain to everybody what's going on, and how this is going to work and go together. So it's a unique project. And then the other thing about it is that the span from here to here on the incline is nearly 200 inches. So
Whoa.
yeah, and why did we win this job? We weren't the specified product. Um, and our competitor bid per the drawings and said, I did what's in the drawings. We bid and said, your channels aren't going to work. Your glass thickness is wrong. The glass has self deflection just by the angle of X, and it has to be able to handle a load of Y. Here's what we're bidding. We're bidding custom steel channels, top and bottom. We're bidding a thicker glass, shop drawings and calculations, and an engineer stamp on this. And went to the architect, and the architect said, hey, you have a better package than these other guys. What about the column covers? We want to put them together. So we designed an extrusion that adheres to the back of one light of glass in several locations, and then a joining extrusion on the column, and they just get hung on it sort of in an up and in fashion, sort of like a French cleat. So
French plate, yeah.
yeah, herein lies these solutions. And so I would say that's the most unique one that's going on now. If there's another one that's noteworthy, I would say this one as well. We haven't. This is the bureaucracy's money. We're working on a project in New York City, and it's an animal clinic. It's a New York City dog and cat shelter. I don't know the exact name, but basically what we've designed is they gave us 4 images of wildlife, and we digitize it in a way that it really pixelates it into tiny little bits of data. And when you look at it closely, you'll go haywire. You're just going to see dots and pixels. When you step back, you see the big picture. There's 4 elevations. One is of wildlife, transparent. One is of the different wildlife and it's opaque. One is translucent and it's a light wall. And then the other one, we're laminating a film. We're laminating this graphic on each side, and in the middle is a film. And depending on what angle you look at the film, you can either see through the glass and the graphic, or the graphic appears as frosted. So there's some exciting work out there. On the other hand, and we like this work as well, we're we're furnishing these bulk handrails that you know about, and then it's just fabricated tons and tons of glass with really, really good edge work. So it's not that I like these design jobs any better than the bulk ones. For us, our plan is at any given time to be 60-40 supply only or design and supply, and find that balance. And it seems to fall about 50-50, maybe 60-40, 40-60 at any given time. But those are two pretty exciting projects that are underway, I would say. And there's a few other ones, but those are really the ones that we worked on today. So they're fresh in my mind.
Sounds
Wow.
awesome.
You're
Yeah.
doing you're doing way cooler stuff than I am. Like I'm intrigued.
Thank you,
I gotta
guys.
see
Same
this.
here.
Thank you,
I can't
guys.
wait to
Same
see it.
here.
There's one other thing
Can't
that
wait to see it.
I imagine, I guess I could mention is the other one is the canopy that we always talk about, Keith. We represent a group from Italy, from Toretto, named Faraoni. I've been friends with the family for many, many years, and we got together and I said to them, "You have this canopy that sort of functions like a dry lock base shoe, but in a canopy format, and we can freeze spray on a light of glass about 65 or so inches from the face of a building, just a monolith of glass." There's another really unique product that we admired. Normally, we design and engineer our own product, but on this one, we're Faroni's North American reseller agent for the Linea canopy. So we see a lot of potential for that canopy. It's innovative. There's not a lot of competition. No one else is doing it. And we've been doing a lot of marketing on it, getting a lot of good results. And more than likely, we're going to have a full size canopy at Glass Build to display as well. So we're working on that right now, too.
Brandon, it's cool. It's like um it's okay, I don't want to say it's like, but imagine a Sierra Lawrence taper lock or an FHC Achieve attached on the vertical wall with their own mechanical fittings that allows the glass to come 65 inches out. I believe it's also on a rake, right, to help shed water back for drainage purposes. Ian, it's a really sexy product for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It's like the cantilever system that doesn't have requires supports away from the extrusion itself or the channel. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
It's very transparent. And we have a project right now where instead of being a canopy, we're digitally printing sort of a black triangular fade graphic, and they're using it as window awnings. And so they're only projecting about 24 inches above each window of this building. So they're using that as sort of shading devices, and it's a unique product. So we were excited about it, and there's a lot of interest in it in certain markets right now.
Wow.
Ian, do you see any of those products uh, ever um, getting to the point where maybe the laminate glass inside has some type of solar capabilities where it doesn't look like a solar panel, but maybe they're awnings or glass railings. They can have the capacity of taking on the sun and converting it into energy.
Absolutely. We haven't done any, but I know of a vendor who makes a laminated glass with a thin film component and a solar collection component. I'm not really knowledgeable of how it works, but they've approached us to integrate into that product and are examining it. And we've also looked at using that canopy product for ambient heating as well. So we have ability with ITO coating to make a light of glass that acts as a radiant heater. It can get up to about 110 degrees. So for example, say you're on the subway platform, I don't know, in Chicago waiting for your train every morning. So you're standing there and it's snowing and your canopy's on a slight angle and it's heating below and melting the snow as it the snow hits it. So there's a lot of innovation going on, and there's a lot of groups that are experimenting with glazing products and other really cool building materials to make solar collectors. I mean, there's a group I've heard of that I read recently. They want to make roads that collect energy, and I would say maybe it was like 2008 or 2010 in Glass Tech in Messe Dusseldorf. They had an exhibit where someone had a glass dance floor that was absorbing the energy of the people dancing.
Oh my
And I was like, this is
gosh, that's
awesome.
cool.
And it was probably super expensive and didn't pay for itself. But the idea that something like that could exist, that's the way things are going, sort of the direction that things are going, where how do we harness the energy from these materials, from this building? And so the building's not just a static consumer. It
Right.
can actually produce value greater than just consuming and collecting rents off of tenants.
I love
So the
that.
building materials are becoming more integrated in that manner.
Very progressive. That's cool.
Yeah, it's neat stuff.
Yeah, that is sweet. So at my house, I have a sunroom and it has like 8 or 9 units above the sunroom at an angle. It was like built in the 80s. It's like falling apart. I want to replace those, but I thought it might be cool. That might be a good opportunity for that solar glass, right? To replace those ones, the south facing sunroom at a slight angle.
Yeah, the challenge is do you have the structure to hold the glass and to take those loads, especially in Colorado where you get a ton of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where these things get tricky when people are trying
Brandon, only if you could find a company that's got an in-house engineer and can procure all that product for you. Where would you get something like that?
And then what's going on with your adjoining conditions? You know, a lot of people will say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do," and I'm like, where are you going to place all this load? Like, do you realize your structure can't handle this? And most cases, we're just issuing reaction forces onto the adjoining conditions. But behind the scenes, we're really examining it to make sure, because at the end of the day, if there's a problem, even if in paper it's not our responsibility, everybody's getting called in to find out who's responsible. And we want to find these issues before that happens. So we're working on a canopy right now where they said, "Don't worry about the steelworks. You just tell us where the steel needs to go." And finally, we said to them, "What you have here is no way it's going to work." And so we're trying to partner and be friendly in that capacity as well, because I mean, at the end of the day, everybody has to get home. You know, no one wants to waste time with sad situations that someone got hurt or someone's in trouble. And I think you have a responsibility in life, not only as a business owner, but you have a responsibility to be transparent, do the right thing. And if there's a concern, raise your concern and say it, even if you just can't be one of those guys saying, "Well, it's not my problem." That's nonsense. You know, it doesn't feel right to do those types of things. And so Phoenix is really, we just do the right thing always. That's our mantra.
Excellent. Yeah. So I got some rapid fire questions. And in the rapid fire questions, they're designed to be answered quickly. It's designed to invoke emotion based on quick responses.
Okay.
So try to keep it like one sentence long or even a word long if you can. Okay.
Get ready, Ian.
Here we go.
All right. Favorite type of glass project to work on?
Decorative laminated.
One thing every glazer should do better.
Every glazer should do better. Every glazer? Oh golly, that's a challenging one. One thing every glazer should do better. It's different for every glazer. We for all.
What one thing the worst glazer should do better?
Provide a better bid document.
All right. What is the best business advice you have ever received?
This is a good one. mind your pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves.
Ooh. Let me get that printed on a hat, and I'm going to wear it.
Yeah. We had a sales rep in Texas. He was a really good guy. He was sort of an old timer. And he said, you mind your pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. And I say that
I
till
fucking love
today,
that.
you know, don't live beyond your means. Grow up. Don't do stupid stuff with money. Because you're going to regret it when it comes around and you need that money. So, you know, be smart with your money.
All right, two more rapid fire questions. If you could only choose one social media platform to post on, which would it be?
Instagram.
Ooh.
I like that. Okay, last. What is one word you want people to associate with Phoenix Architectural?
Partnership.
Oh, good answer.
Yeah, partnership's really
I
important.
love it.
Excellent.
If you treat your customer like a partner and treat their work and you're privileged to work with them as an extension of yourself, then it really works out well. I want everyone to feel comfortable working with us and feel like they're getting the white glove treatment they deserve. So I they're always customers, but I consider them partners, and I hope they feel the same way, and I believe they do. You know, you have to work in the spirit of cooperation. It can't be adversarial. It has to be partnership, or else it's just not a good experience for anybody.
Well said.
All right, so we're going to land the plane here. So I have one final question. Looking ahead, what does success look like for Phoenix Architectural Glass and Metal in 5 years?
I think in 5 years, continue distinguishing ourselves with the right projects, being a resource for the right architects, the right glazers, and continuing to maintain that 85% is referral business. Or not referral, excuse me. 85% is return customer. That'd be a good one for an edit. Yeah. Yeah. 85% referral customer.
Can I just add one last question? I know that's usually our last question, Brad, but I don't mean to steal this. Where did you get the name Phoenix Architectural Glass? Like, where did you actually come up with the name? Or did somebody give it to you, or
No,
did you come up with it?
I was born and raised in New York City, and I went to Arizona State University, and I have a love for Phoenix, Arizona. So many people believe that's where it came from. Um, when the pandemic happened, I had a business partner in my former business. He was a great guy. He was a mentor, a friend. He's a good person. I learned a ton from him. And things changed organizationally, and it was time to close this business. And we were on top. And so we closed this business, shook hands, hugged, kissed. There was some sadness. We walked away, but it was time to do something 100% on my own. And so Phoenix was born from the ideas and concepts that I had been thinking about for many, many years. I say that, you know, we want to focus on white glove, boutique quality and service. And I said to myself, everybody's thinking bigger. We want to think a little more, a little tighter, a little smaller so that we can get pinpoint focused on what's missing in this industry. So Phoenix was sort of the rebirth of that in the time of the pandemic to say, hey, it's 100% my business now. We're going to focus on not just the quantity, but massive, massive partnership, the QC, the quality. It grows out of that. So it's sort of like a rebirth, I guess you'd say, and a re-engagement on things at the time of pandemic.
Man, you got an awesome story. Very grateful and sharing it for us. That was awesome. Awesome interview.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that concludes today's episode, my friends. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Check out Ian on his favorite platform, Instagram.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you in the next one.